Hello, Rabbi Friedman. Thank God it's Tuesday.
It is. It really is.
Yes. And as
At least
as
we know something for sure.
absolutely. And as I just told our audience, since we started to conduct this program and we called it Thank God It's Tuesday for many reasons, but main reason is that we speak about the most amazing things for the real things. We talk about the truth, and I think this is the only place nowadays that we speak the truth on the air. And since we started this program, I said Tuesday, and we called it Thank God It's Tuesday. I called it Thank God It's Tuesday. I realized that Tuesday is an amazing day, and so many things happen on Tuesday. And today is the full proof of that, where we are celebrating the day of education, the day of giving, the day of the Rebbe, the 120th year since he was born, the true leader of our generation. And everybody is either wishing, hoping, or believing that Rebbe is Mashiach. And that's what I would like to speak with you about. Is Rebbe Moshiach?
If Moshiach was here, we would discuss whether it's the Rebbe. But Moshiach is not here, unfortunately. So we're guessing, predicting the future. One thing we know for sure, the Rebbe definitely prepared the world for Moshiach, more than anybody else in history. Of course, he had modern technology to help, which is a big help. If you're going to prepare the whole world, you have to be able to reach the world, which was not possible in the past, in previous generations. The Rebbe made full use of technology, radio, television, satellite broadcasts to reach the whole world. So if that's what it takes to bring Mashiach, then that's what the Rebbe did. Who Mashiach is, I'm not particular. It's just, when is he coming?
Yeah, that's for sure is what everybody's just dreaming, hoping, speaking is, when is Mashiach coming here? However, so many followers, especially of Chabad, do proclaim Rebbe as Melech HaMashiach. And a lot of people, then I just have to ask some questions. Questions of, for instance, right now, on Rebbe's birthday, 120th birthday, there's so many people at OL. Really, lines, you can't spend more than a second. It's basically a walkthrough. People come from all over the world. Why? Why do people need this closeness to someone who is physically not here, but people visit the grave, people still write letters to the Rebbe, and actually this is something I want to ask later. I mean, how can people know that the answers that they get nowadays, when it's not the physical answers from the Rebbe himself, how do they know that whatever the answers they get is the truth? And then people, before getting married, people go to OL to get a blessing before they announce their engagement to the world. First, they go to OL. So physically, we don't see the Rebbe. We have not said for sure, not everybody is in agreement that he is the Messiah, but at the same time, there is still this communication going on. Everybody seeks out his leadership, and not only Chabad, because if and you go on OL anytime, there's every different people, not even necessarily all Jewish people, that go to visit the Rebbe. So why is this still happening? And if this is still happening, why aren't we sure then if he is the Messiah?
It is an amazing thing people who never saw the Rebbe, who were born after the Rebbe passed away, have this very real and very sincere connection to the Rebbe. First of all, they regret not seeing him. Now, who else in history? Abraham Lincoln was a very great man, and I would have, liked to see him. I regret that I didn't see him? No, not really. Or anybody else in history. So it's an amazing thing that people respond to the Rebbe who never saw the Rebbe. But that's not because he might be Moshiach. Most people that come don't even believe in Moshiach. They just want something, some connection, some inspiration from the Rebbe. Not because the Rebbe might be Moshiach, but because the Rebbe is a Rebbe. And for what the Rebbe already did, not for what he might do in the future. So that, you think the Rebbe's Moshiach, I don't know. If that makes Moshiach more real for you, fine. But the Rebbe didn't like it. And the Rebbe objected to it many times. I don't need the Rebbe to be Moshiach. He's my Rebbe. Maybe that's even greater than Moshiach. I don't know. Like Chassidim say, when Moshiach comes, how are we going to know what to do? The answer is, whatever the Rebbe does, we'll do the same. He'll know what to do, so he's always been our teacher. He's always been our role model. So when Mashiach comes, he'll continue to be our role model. But here's the important thing. In last week, or this week, in the Canadian Parliament, and Canada has been in the news lately, in the Canadian Parliament, a woman speaker mentioned that the Rebbe's birthday is coming up and that he was a great inspiration to Jews and non-Jews and so on and so forth. A little 4-minute speech, and the entire Parliament got up on their feet and applauded. I don't know what to make of this. Okay, applause, very nice. Standing ovation for what? They don't know the Rebbe, I don't think. They're not Jewish. There's something about the Rebbe, not what he's going to do, but what he already did. It needs study. This is going to fill books. What did one man who never left Brooklyn, once he arrived in Brooklyn, he was born in Nikolaev, and every city in the news these days say, "Oh yeah, that's where the Rebbe. Yeah, that's where the Rebbe grew up. That's where the Rebbe was born. That's where the Rebbe's brother was." It's just so familiar, all those cities and all those places. So what does one man who sits for 50 years in Brooklyn, how did this happen? There are people who work very hard to become a celebrity and to become politically powerful and make themselves famous, and they have agents to publicize them and to promote them. The Rebbe went about his life very predictable, between 770 on Eastern Parkway and his home on President Street. That was it. That was his life. And yet, so on the one hand, the Rebbe became one of the most powerful human beings on earth, not just for the Jewish people. Every major event, the Rebbe got involved through letters, through messengers, through connections. And yet, he completely avoided celebrityhood. He didn't do interviews. He didn't give out statements to the press. He remained a private citizen. Amazing. The power of absolute honesty and truth. That's it. That's all that Rebbe had going for him. Like many observers noticed, that Rebbe didn't have a political movement. He didn't have great wealth. He didn't have an army. He didn't have a country. How did he become such a powerful influence in the world? All he had were his ideas, his message, his teachings. And that can be more powerful than the armies and the money and all he did was speak truth, but with absolute truthfulness. No gimmicks, no embellishments, no hyperbole. Amazing. And it inspired people to dedicate their lives. People who never met the Rebbe. Chabad Hasidic kids, but they were born in the last 25 years. They never saw the Rebbe. Or the last 30 years. They were too young to know the Rebbe. And yet, they can't wait. 120 campers, RVs, are rolling through the streets of Manhattan right now. 120 RVs. They rented out every RV in the tri-state area.
Amazing.
And who's driving them? Who's manning them? Kids who never saw the Rebbe. But they're so committed, so convinced of the Rebbe's message. And what is the Rebbe's message? The world is ours to perfect. Everything we do, everything we touch, everything we say, everything we think affects the world. And God needs the world to become godly. People all over the world wake up to this message, spend their days and nights. It's an amazing, unprecedented thing that needs volumes and volumes of books. There are a few books that came out on the Rebbe. It's a drop in the bucket. So Moshiach or not Moshiach, the Rebbe is a great Rebbe. And that is amazing. That is already mind-boggling. Will he be Moshiach? What's the difference? Whether he brings Moshiach, is Moshiach, whatever he wants, I don't care.
Rabbi Friedman, there are so many letters and stories out there and books, published books, of how Rebbe has physically helped people with advice that changed their entire lives. And there are letters of the Rebbe which are still working today for those who wish to still try to get answers from the Rebbe. People do still write to the Rebbe, and it's a very strange phenomenon to very many that people still do that, and people still rely on the answer that they get. And the question is always how? How does this work? Can you explain it, please?
Well, no soul disappears when it leaves the body. Certainly not the soul of a righteous person, certainly not the soul of a leader, of the head of a generation. So the soul remains itself. Whatever the Rebbe was passionate about during his lifetime, he is still passionate about it. He has just changed location. But nothing else has changed. So his commitment to his people, to his generation, to the world, to God's mission, hasn't changed at all. If anything, it has increased. People believe that if you ask the Rebbe for advice and for guidance, he will find a way to provide it. One of the ways that he can provide it is, I ask the Rebbe, please tell me what I should do. I'm going to open a book of your letters in which you advise people. Lead me to the right letter that will tell me what to do in this circumstance. That's what people do. If you're not too particular on how the Rebbe is going to guide you or inspire you, so you leave it up to the Rebbe. Any way he wants is fine. So the Rebbe is still the Rebbe, meaning he's still committed, he's still concerned, he's still devoted, he's still available to help exactly the way he did while he was alive, because a soul does not change. It only moves up the skyscraper.
Rabbi Friedman, when Rebbe was physically here, no one in Chabad got married without Rebbe's blessing. Everybody wrote to him, and until they got an answer, a very definite blessing, no one tied the knot, as we say it these days. Now people continue to do the same thing. How do they know that they have a blessing? Because realistically, right now they can't get an answer, but they still do not announce the engagement to the world. So it's kind of like a guessing situation, or is there more to it?
Well, first, there's simply the respectful, polite thing. If you're going to get engaged, the first address, the first notification is to the Rebbe for his blessing, as well as for his approval. Sometimes people were a little uncertain and wanted the Rebbe's approval just to give them the confidence that they're doing the right thing. And sometimes they were absolutely confident they're doing the right thing, but it's such an important thing, you want a blessing, that it be successful. So people go to the Ohel, people go to the Rebbe's resting place, first of all, for the blessing. And secondly, if it's not meant to be, they're asking that something come up that will prevent them from making a mistake. Nothing comes up that stops them or changes their mind or makes them wonder, they proceed, assuming that they have the Rebbe's approval, which is not exactly the way it used to be. You know, it was so amazing to hear the Rebbe's nod, saying, "Oh, great idea. Good shidduch." Made a huge difference. Today it's more like, if it's not meant to be, something will prevent it from happening.
Rebbe Friedman, but can the people, because we're just people, trust ourselves when we, and I'm one of the people who does this too, so I'm just going to say I'm not, but at the same time, I always question myself, do I understand the letter that is not addressed to me? I'm human, or is this wishful thinking? Is this my interpretation? Or is this the real answer that is meant for me? So there's always that question. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has it.
Yeah, that can be misused, abused, misunderstood. It's not, whatever you look at, whatever page you open up in the Rebbe's book, it's not the Rebbe telling you what to do. You are finding confirmation for what it is you need to do. If it doesn't make you feel like, oh, that's right, that's good, then the whatever is there on the page is irrelevant. So you're not looking just for any kind of instruction or direction. You're looking to resolve your uncertainty. If it doesn't resolve your uncertainty, it didn't work. So the Rebbe will find a different way. But it's not like you're obligated to follow whatever that page says or whatever that letter says. That's, I don't know, somebody wrote in about starting a business, and they opened up the book, and it was, your question about moving to Australia, I think, is a good idea. You should move. The guy said, do I have to move to Australia? No, because that's not what you asked. So this letter does not resolve your doubts, and just skip it. But sometimes when it seems really, really obvious and clear, like it's the same question that Rebbe wrote to somebody else, but it's the same question with the same uncertainty, it sounds really familiar to you, and this resolves your doubts, wonderful. But you got to really be careful. I know people say, the Rebbe told me, oh, come on. The Rebbe didn't tell you. So let's not get cuckoo about it.
Rebbe Friedman, why is it that since the Rebbe, there is no other leaders of Chabad, that no one succeeded the Rebbe? And he did not have children, which is also something very uncommon for for an observant, religious Hasidic man. Yeah, I mean, so it seems like there's some kind of signs that we're getting, or should we be looking at some sort of more mystical sign that he did not have children and there are no one who was able to succeed him?
Well, having children doesn't guarantee that there's someone to succeed you. Unfortunately, children step into their father's position, whether they're worthy of it or not, or capable or not, and it's not a good thing. So even if there were children, tragically they were not. Very painful for both the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin. But if there was a candidate, there would be interest. There's not even a thought of anyone, because to fill the Rebbe's shoes, we don't even completely understand what the Rebbe did. It's mind-boggling. I mean, just to make it really tangible. In 1950 or 1951, the Rebbe became Rebbe. Not only did he not leave Brooklyn, he never took a day off. For 50 years practically. Never took a day off. Not like he had weekends to himself. Weekends were the most strenuous. On Shabbos, the Rebbe did the most work, spiritual work. He spoke, he taught, he fabrengt, he led it. On Yom Tov, forget about it. The Rebbe was the center of all the activities, not a moment's rest. And during the week, he was always at the desk, reading letters, answering letters, preparing manuscripts for a full day. And then he went home at night with a shopping bag full of homework. Never a day off. That itself is just beyond. How is that possible? For 92 years. How is that possible? The Rebbe was bombarded with people's problems, whether financial, political, organizational, personal. A lot of pain and a lot of suffering and a lot poured into the Rebbe's desk every day. And the Rebbe answered every one of them personally. He wouldn't let a secretary open a letter, open the envelope. No, too personal. Psychiatrists need to take vacations every couple of months, or they get depressed. And they're trained to remain unaffected. Never to take a day off. It's just not human. So already we've got a mind-boggling individual, and find someone to step into those shoes. But if there was someone, yeah, of course. But just to put someone in there just for the name, no, it's either a real, genuine leader or nothing. And then finally, the Rebbe's projects are still so vital and so relevant and so urgent. We don't want a new project. We got to finish this one. A new Rebbe would mean a new project. But we haven't finished this one, and when we do finish this one, we're not going to need another one, because this one is to bring Moshiach.
Rebbe Friedman, there's a certain energy at the OL, and whenever people are distressed, it's usually like, what to do? Oh, go to OL, go to the Rebbe. And it's common that people write their thoughts down. This is not when they're, maybe they are asking for help, but at the same time, they just write, they kind of pour their heart out. They kind of put everything into a paper, and then they rip that paper at the site, at the Rebbe's site. Who came up with that idea? Why is this happening? Because everybody seems to know what to do, and even the people who never done it, they go and they always say that they feel something very special, that this somehow always helps everybody, even without getting answers or without getting anything, but just this whole process. Why is that? Can it be explained?
Yeah, a resolution to the problem you're asking about is the best answer in the world. Not just advice, it's a solution. And this happens every single day, constantly. People come with a problem and walk away with a solution. It's miraculous. But the thing about writing a note, that's an old tradition. People go to Israel, to Jerusalem, and they go to the Kotel. There's an old custom of putting down your requests. The old joke about Trump? Trump went to Israel, he was standing by the wall, and they have a picture of it, and the caption is, "Hi God, this is Trump. Can I do anything for you?"
That's so Trump.
Most people put their most urgent, most passionate needs and feelings, and they stick it in the cracks of the stones, and the message gets through somehow. So they do that at the Rebbe's resting place as well. But the best thing we can do for people listening, and especially if you're from Russia, I think the Rebbe had a special place in his heart for Russians, Ukrainians. The Rebbe once taught a song on Simchas Torah. He taught a song that was Ukrainian, with Ukrainian words. And the Russians had a hard time with it. It sounds familiar, but it's not Russian. And they couldn't. So the Rebbe kept saying, "Isn't there anyone who speaks Ukrainian?" We kept looking for So what the best thing we can do for the Rebbe and for the people, if you have a need, God forbid a problem, go to Queens, Montefiore Cemetery, ask for the Chabad office or whatever, Chabad building. They'll tell you exactly how you do it, and you'll find a whole new lease on life. So everybody is benefiting from these miracles. Why shouldn't you? Even if you're not the type. If it works, you go. Especially if it's for children or for a spouse or for a parent. Not to waste an opportunity like this. You would try very complicated, expensive treatments that are maybe even experimental, and you do that. Here, it's not expensive, it's not dangerous, it's not invasive, it's not, and can do more than conventional solutions. So absolutely, don't hesitate.
Rebbe Friedman, I'm going to put a little bit of physicality into the spirituality, which is actually a miracle. This is the first thing that I thought about, like, how can Chabad possibly work? It's all about giving. It's all about delivering to the people without asking absolutely anything in return. And this shluchim, these young couples who are sent to locations without really any financial help from anywhere. There's no subsidies here, and yet Chabad is alive and thriving. All the emissaries of the Rebbe, the shluchim, are thriving everywhere they go, even if they go somewhere where there's absolutely no Jewish people who would help them out, give them anything. But then again, and to me, it was always like, I can't explain. This is like the first thing I can't explain. I can't explain a lot of other things, but this defies the laws of economics, the laws of physics, the laws of everything. How is that working out for everybody?
Yes, it does defy all those laws, because it doesn't function by those laws. It functions on sincerity and truth. If what you're saying is true and you're sincere, nothing will stand in your way. And that's just the way life is. Truth and sincerity are more powerful than armies and professionalism and education. And that's all the Rebbe asked. Go and sincerely deliver the Torah's message, which is true. So yes, they go to places where they are the only ones, nobody invited them, nobody is supporting them, but come back 5 years later. Amazing. Because when people hear truth with sincerity, there's no unhearing it. Now, going to the oil, one of the things you mentioned, the atmosphere, the feeling. Whenever you go to Israel, you go to many holy sites of great people of the past. You go to Hebron, Avraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah. Awesome. And you feel it. It feels awesome, mysterious, But then you go to Rachel in Shechem. Different feeling. And everybody recognizes it. There you feel like your mother just welcomed you home. And you just cry from relief, from pleasure. At the oil, there's a special feeling. You feel accepted as you are. more accepted by the Rebbe than you are to yourself. The Rebbe likes you more than you like yourself. Where else do you get that feeling?
Wow.
So you feel like most people's reaction is, felt so comfortable. Didn't expect to feel comfortable because, I don't do this at a cemetery, at a grave, and yet it felt so comfortable, so unjudged. So again, anyone who can make it, who can get there with whatever means, if you have to hop on a plane, the Rebbe welcomes everyone who comes. So it's not just a solution for problems, it's a gift to the Rebbe.
Rebbe Friedman, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. It's you were saying it and I was feeling it. We have only a few minutes left to today's program, unfortunately, and it's been phenomenal, just magical today, especially today. On the way to work today, I listened to your latest lecture on knowing and believing. I certainly recommend for everybody to go on your YouTube channel and listen to it because it's really amazing, mind-blowing, fantastic, very deep. And I just want to have a question. If you were to say what we need to believe about the Rebbe and what we need to know about the Rebbe, what would you say?
There are great people in this generation, great rabbis, great teachers, great inspirers, great people. Their followers, their own students, their proteges, never describe them as the leader of the generation. He's the leader of our movement, the leader of our school, the leader of our community. The leader of the generation? Hardly ever. And yet everybody thinks of the Rebbe as the Rebbe. Who's the Rebbe? Yeah. What does that mean in very practical terms? If you were to ask the teachers, the rabbis, the Rebbes, do you feel responsible? Do you take responsibility for the Jews in a country you never even visited? Their answer would be no. I can't reach them. I don't speak their language. I can't inspire them. No, that's not my responsibility. But if you ask the Rebbe would say absolutely. If there's a Jew anywhere in Tasmania, it's my responsibility. Why are his kids not going to a yeshiva? Why is there no mikveh for his wife to go to? Why doesn't he have his own pair of tefillin to put on? Why doesn't he have matzah for Pesach? What about prisoners in South Africa who the government will not allow to erect a sukkah during Sukkos? What do we do about that? Whose responsibility is this? So when we say the Rebbe was the Rebbe of our generation, in other words, the Rebbe of the world, it's not just a title. It's an awesome, not very appealing responsibility. Responsible for the world, the Jewish world. Well, where are Jews? Everywhere.
Ваши голоса звучат.
So, if you're responsible for Jews everywhere, then you are responsible for the welfare of all the countries where Jews may be, which means you're responsible for the whole world. And of course, you can't do this by yourself. You need to have representatives, emissaries, diplomats. And so the Rebbe raised the entire generation of Chabad children that the best thing you can do for the rest of your life is dedicate yourself to a Jewish community, buy a one-way ticket, go there and spend your life day and night improving the physical, spiritual, material well-being of that place. How can that fail? Can't.
Oh, Rabbi Friedman, what an amazing hour we just spent, and so inspirational. So just, I don't know, it brought me even closer to the Rebbe, which is something that I always crave, and I'm sure so many others who understand what he did for our generation, just like you explained, and what he is continuing to do for our generation. And we started with saying that this is the day of education and the day of kindness, and that is exactly what is happening. And this is what we need more than anything, is to become smarter and kinder, and and to bring it to the world.
Change the world.
Yeah.
Change the world with information and kindness. Yes, absolutely.
Rebbe Friedman, thank you so much. I hope you had a very special connection with the Rebbe. You actually had the opportunity to translate his speeches, which is, I can't imagine how difficult that had to be and how privileged it must have been. And that's just that extra closeness to the Rebbe that you have, that you translate to us right now. I definitely feel more connection to the Rebbe through you, and I'm sure I speak for hundreds of thousands or millions of other people. And thank you so much for bringing Rebbe's message to the world, to continuing to give his message to us. And
thank you for the good wishes.
So this is your day, this is our day. Enjoy the day, and B'ezrat Hashem, we will have another opportunity to speak about goodness, kindness, and education next week. And happy Passover, of course.
Be well.
Thank you very much.